This week we went to go see From the World of John Wick, Ballerina in Dolby. That's right, in Dolby, but is it any good? We'll talk. Hi, how you doing today? It's Just Jazz here. Hope you're having a good day. And today, yes, we just saw From the World of John Wick, Ballerina, and we went to go see this in Dolby, but is it worth it in that format? Honestly, absolutely yes. Why? The sounds of the gunshots felt more immersive due to the vibration of the seats and the bass in the theater, making it not just louder, but feeling the impact of it. The deeper blacks of Dolby Vision made for the thrilling assassin world visually pop, bringing a stunning energy to the cinematography, such as seeing the club, Continental, and the snowy village scenes. Ultimately, watching Ballerina in Dolby isn't just seeing a movie, it's feel like it's being in it due to the incredible sensory overload that pulls you right into the heat of the action. Every gunshot, every bullet, every explosion, the hand-to-hand combat, thrilling chase sequences, even the blood score and soundtrack, everything in between immerses you completely. When I was watching this in Dolby, I remember the beginning of the movie, the gunshots not just felt louder like I told you earlier, but I was like, wow, this feels like I'm there every single time. When you're in the Dolby screen, the seats vibrate more than your traditional regular screens. So not just to get the bigger screen, but the Dolby Atmos and the surround sound are more higher quality than you were to go see this in a regular screen format. So knowing that John Wick franchise has a lot of gunshots and a lot of hand-to-hand combat, I knew and I had an idea, well, if it's not available in IMAX, which is my preferred way to see it, Dolby would probably be one of the best ways to go. And yeah, it's amazing because every time there's a gunshot, yes, it's not just louder, but you feel it in terms of the bass, the way you're sitting in the theater in terms of the Dolby Atmos, and also the seats are rumbling and vibrating every single time it does it. So every time when she throws like the grenades or the gunshots, it just feels dun dun, you know. And I was like, oh my god, this is so cool, you know. Like, yeah, in the beginning it was a little bit too loud, but it's the loudness accompanied and of course corresponding with the bass and of course the rumbling in the seats that makes you feel more immersive. That's why I said sensory overload. From the world of John Wick, we have the movie Ballerina. It's an action adventure thriller starring Ana de Armas, who plays Eve Morocco and is raised by the customs of the Ruska Roma. From a young age, witnessing death right in front of her, she seeks out a revenge quest to take out the foes that brought the destruction of her family. Will she seek redemption or will she bite off more than she can chew? Find out as we talk about it. I've watched all the John Wick movies and even saw the last one, Chapter 4, in IMAX. That's right, in IMAX. And guess what? I even have a review of Chapter 4 in IMAX. Link below so you can see it. And I absolutely love the universe, the lore, the Continental, the gunslinging, the coins, and also the medallions and everything in between. So when I heard they're doing a spin-off series and that it was starring Ana de Armas, I instantly perked up and got excited. Ana de Armas is a perfect casting choice for this particular character. Like I told you before, she's not only gorgeous and perfect, she plays the role of Eve Morocco with gravitas and discipline. The first time we saw a glimpse of this was a small mission scene in the movie No Time to Die. She played Paloma, and it felt like that was putting her on a map because it was showcasing her fighting abilities and also her sexiness in terms of helping James Bond in that particular film. The way she took down her foes with that sexy dress and the gun really made and cemented the foundation for her future career. And another movie that came out that also kind of added to the layer of her adaptation in terms of the action adventure stuff was Ghosted, that came out in 2023 with Chris Evans. Yeah, that was more of a lighter tone. It was more silly and more goofy, but still nonetheless in terms of helping her trajectory and career to land this gig that where she is now. Which leads me to this film. She had to train intensively and undergo stamina, endurance, strength training, and even weapons training. If you've seen a clip, and you can probably search this online right now because it popped up in my Instagram feed more than once, she had to train with that famously clip with Keanu Reeves in terms of fighting, hand choreographed, and easing getting her into shape for this particular film. So there's a lot of interviews that she says this is the most entertaining that she had to date. Yes, she had prior training to this, but this just elevated her stuff in terms of leveling up for this particular act. She isn't just a female version of John Wick. No. She has her own motivations and even unique fighting style and kind of being scrappy and using what she has in terms of her environment, not just her gear, to take down her foes. If you've seen the trailer, I've seen the trailer after watching the movie. Some of you know that I don't watch trailers before seeing the movie. She's during this training, right? And I think the girl that's training her says, you'll always be at disadvantage. You'll always be smaller. You'll always be weaker. You're letting him define the rules of the contest. And I think I'm paraphrasing here, I might get it right. So I think she says that in the movie. So after she hears that, for the rest of the movie, she's like, all right, what can I do to take this guy or this girl down? It doesn't matter if there's a girl or if it's a guy. If they're bigger, they're stronger, what can she do, allowing herself to take down their foes, using everything in her power, not just her guns and her knives and her gear, but also environment as well. Yeah, she's smaller, but I feel like she's a little bit faster than some of them, especially when you see the movie. She uses everything she has, not in terms of her gear, but also her environment. One of the things from the marketing material and also from the trailers that I really want to give you an example is the fire versus water scene. Now this happens later in the film, but basically she fights this guy starting with fire, right? That's pretty bad. Fire with fire, you're gonna get burned. So first she's like, yeah, I'm gonna kill this guy with fire. But when he's using fire against her, she's like, all right, now I gotta think differently. I gotta strategize. I gotta improvise. And she literally takes like a water gun or hose, you know, like the firefighters use to take down the fire, and she literally sprays him down. And it's great cinematography in terms of creatively done, and also uses the amazing Dolby Vision, deeper blacks, and higher contrast, better contrast with the scene. So this guy's attacking her with the fire, and she's literally holding him down. And as long as they're getting close together like this, I thought that was really cool and creatively done, because Ana de Armas, well, of course, Eve Morocco, she's like, how am I gonna take this guy down? How am I gonna compete with him if he's using fire? If I'm using fire, it's just gonna cancel each other out. So the way she uses the water scene against him, it's so creatively done, because I'm like, dude, hell that, yet now you're, of course, going from the beginning of the movie, she was allowing him to define the terms of the contest, but now that she uses fire, it's a wholly different element. And of course the guy still lit the fire, he's rage, you know how guys are with fire. Final Fantasy 16 comes to mind, you know, with Clive with the fire and stuff. But of course with this, water is like a different element, you know, you move with water, it flows differently. So I thought that was, man, that was probably more of a deeper thinking, but that was one of the showcases of the examples especially that I want to give to you. Another scene where she's fighting a dude, it's literally during like this cabin, and it's like an ice skating rink in the middle of the floor. She uses the blades of the ice skating, and she doesn't put them in her feet, she puts them in her hands, but she doesn't stick her hands all the way in. She like does this creeping thing, and she does this, she like slices and dices her foes, because she started beating him with like hand-to-hand combat and of course like the guns, but then when she sees this, she's like this. And of course it ties to the thing of Ballerina, because they're dancers and stuff, so ice skating ring would be in her wheelhouse per se. So I love that, because it's another example of how creatively done she would take to destroy her foes. Now yeah, probably John Wick would have done that, but the needing to do that for this particular character was nice to see, because it strengthens her abilities and being adaptive in terms of taking out these enemies. A lot of people are asking, does this movie deliver on the goods of the action and adventures thriller stuff that known from the John Wick world, but also from the big out set pieces and also the hand-to-hand combat and fighting sequences? While they're probably not as big as the John Wick franchise, like the blown out set pieces, it absolutely delivers them in spades in terms of everything else, such as the gunslinging, the hand-to-hand combat, and the chase sequences. I'll give you an example. She goes on her first mission, right? And it's this club. It's beautiful, it's elegant. Of course, it's not a John Wick movie without a clubbing scene, and this club is beautiful. It's ice theme, it's elegant, it's fanciness, it oozes style. It's something that I would go into wearing a suit, getting a girl, getting some good drinks, maybe getting a hotel. Not only she walks in this club like she owns the place, she's sexy, she's elegant, and she's beautiful in her dress. It's something that I would go. The music, it's EDM techno, it's like it's beautifully done. But the whole club is ice, like I told you. When she starts engaging in these guys, yeah, she's a little bit scrappy, she's probably a little bit nervous. This is her first big mission. She starts using the rules of the contest to play. Of course, hand-to-hand combat comes to play. Another thing that shows up that I really want to talk about is she takes out this pole of ice, and of course it only could be found in the club scene. She takes out this pole of ice and she starts whacking dudes with it, using the environment, the ice, in terms of like taking her down. She's like, you know what, F this, I'm not gonna just use my hands, I'm gonna use everything. So she takes out the freaking like pole, and she's like just sort of whacking guys. I'm like, that was critically done in terms of taking out her foes, because only she could do that in this particular setting for that ice club, which was beautifully done, especially in Dolby. This movie is set during the events of Chapter 3 Parabellum of John Wick and Chapter 4. Is Keanu Reeves in this movie? Yes, absolutely. If you've seen some of the marketing material or even some of the trailers, he shows up in the Ruska Roma. Now we see a different side or elegancy in terms of this particular scene, because in his particular movie, he shows up to the Ruska Roma asking for help. Now that Eve Morocco is taking the place of Ballerina, we see a different glimpse of a side for Keanu Reeves entering this facility. He shows up not just as a cameo, but also maybe giving her some guidance and also some maybe combat training, which that's all I say because I don't want to spoil it for you. Some of the scenes you can actually search up where she tells him, you're the Baba Yaga, everyone talks about you. So his guidance or his gloominess of vibe is looming over this particular world and feel like his playground. So everyone talks about you, and he's like, the front door is already unlocked and stuff like that. that. So every time he's on screen, my theater gasps in terms of excitement. We get to see another amazing Continental with the big, beautiful round door with the red hue. We also get to see the expansion of this universe with that particular Continental. It looks amazing. We get to see the insides of it. It's elegant, it's beautiful, it's fancy. The Ruska Roma is a subcategory of the John Wick. Yes, this plays in the world of John Wick, but I couldn't help to feel it wasn't an expansion like many of you and me were thinking about it. Now, don't get me wrong, it does give us clues, hints, and nods to other Continentals and such as the gold coin, but it just felt like a standalone storyline in terms of being inside the John Wick world. It really didn't expand it as much as I would have thought, other than giving us a different Continental and also a different village of the snowy area, and also giving us a glimpse of maybe the enemies that are the cult that don't play by the rules that we do. I mean, sometimes they check into the Continental, but also they play by their own set of areas and expertise. They're basically like savages, like what they talked about in the movie. So I couldn't help to feel kind of disappointed that it wasn't the expansion that we were thinking about it, but nonetheless, it's still a good time at the theaters. The soundtrack is downright one of the best things about this movie. So you hear some of the nods and call-outs and even thematic scenes from the original John Wick franchise that are incorporated into this movie, but also showcasing new ideas in soundtrack, for being Ballerina. Yes, you still have that amazing tone where he starts walking into the Continental, incorporated into this movie, but bringing in new sounds, making Eve Morocco feel her own in this particular film for being a ballerina. You guys gotta remember, this is a totally different new character. Yeah, she wants revenge, but the way she goes about it might be the same as John Wick, but also it's not just a reskin of him. She feels totally different with motivations, her tactics, her abilities, the way she is and what she goes for, the strengths and weaknesses, and the way she approaches the enemies of the underworld of John Wick. And the movie does set up for a sequel, so I'm excited to see where the story goes next. At the end of the day, I'm gonna give this an A, and I saw this in Dolby, so results may vary, and it's contended for best of the year. If you made it this far, I really appreciate you so much. Maybe consider hitting that like button and turning on notifications so you never miss a video. And with that, take care, bye.